This is an art collage novel video. I made this series so you guys can experience the story faster. The video will focus on the character's psychology, the images are for illustration purposes only. At this moment, Guan Yuan was here in person. The might of a 9-stars martial sovereign's Emperor Qi instantly pressed down on Yunxiao like a mountain, and his arm turned into a dragon's head in the air, biting down. Yunxiao was well prepared. The moment he sensed the Emperor aura, he turned into a bolt of lightning and fled. Boom. Shui Xian's seat was instantly bitten off by the dragon head. Seeing that his attack had missed, Guan Yuan's expression turned cold, and he snorted coldly, "I'll kill you first today." He retracted his hand and took a step toward Yunxiao. He had not suffered as much in all his years on Xiankong Island as he had met Yunxiao today, so he could not calm his anger by not killing him. Besides, Yunxiao had a supreme-grade mystic artifact with him, which he was determined to get. "First Island Lord, you can't kill this man," Shui Xian shouted in anger. Guan Yuan said coldly, "This person is harboring evil intentions. Your Highness, you must not be deceived by his young and tender appearance. Today, I will skin this person and let everyone see his true colors." "You even dare to disobey the order of the Princess of the Ocean Emperor," Yunxiao sneered. "Is there anything in this world that you dare not do?" If he ate everyone and restored the magnificent Dharma Lotus throne completely, he would probably attack the Sea Emperor's palace directly. Everyone's expression changed drastically. They didn't dare to say such treasonous words out loud. They didn't even dare to think about it. "Today, no matter how glib your tongue is, you won't be able to live," Guan Yuan said with a cold smile. Yunxiao glanced at the crowd and said in a serious voice, "Are you all still hoping that he will show mercy and let us go? You have to fight for your own chance to live with your own blood, not wait for anyone to give you a chance." Everyone's hearts trembled. Looking at Guan Yuan's savage appearance, their hesitating resolve slowly became firm. What this human friend said makes sense. It's not difficult for everyone to kill this person if we join hands, but if we continue to observe, we'll be defeated one by one. The Sea tribe member who had won the 9-colored field conch was the first to speak. The spirit of the profound level weapon continued to flow out of his body and headed toward the lotus seat in the sky. He stepped out of the crowd and stood next to Yunxiao, ready to join hands to fight the enemy. This time, there were even more people who stood firm on their stance. One by one, they flew up from their seats in anger and glared at Guan Yuan. Baiming Lifeng was both happy and worried. He was happy that Yunxiao was dead, but worried that he would die too. At this moment, he couldn't make up his mind. He glanced at Baiming Kongtian. Baiming Kongtian's face was extremely gloomy. His lips moved slightly as he transmitted his voice to Jiang Qin. Baiming Lifeng hurriedly perked up his ears to listen. His expression kept changing, but in the end, a determined look appeared on his face as he nodded to Baiming Kongtian. Only then did Baiming Kongtian fly up into the sky and said in a deep voice, "All human experts, listen to my command and kill the 5 men from Xiankong Island." Guan Yuan squinted at him and praised, "A human expert? Peak 8-star, not bad. Honored guest, I'll leave this person to you." Bin Chen on the stage leaped up and walked to Guan Yuan's back, saying, "First Island Master, can you spare that Li Yunxiao? Don't forget the agreement between us." Guan Yuan's face turned cold as he said angrily, "Li Yunxiao must die." His eyes flickered with killing intent as he stared at Bin Chen and said coldly, "You can save him once, but I will not allow the same thing to happen again." Bin Chen's expression changed slightly, and he remained silent. He only let out a long sigh. Shui Xian's cold face also revealed a murderous look. She said angrily, "Word by word, I will never allow you to kill Li Yunxiao." Her tone was firm, as if there was no room for discussion. She did not know why she was so decisive. She even flew up into the air and stood in front of Yunxiao. Shui Xian's action shocked everyone, but at the same time, it also represented the stance of the Sea Emperor's daughter. No one hesitated anymore, and everyone was determined to fight to the death with the Xiankong Island. Yunxiao was also stunned for a moment, and a complicated look appeared in his eyes. He had not expected this silly girl to be so brave and fearless. Bai Minglifeng's face was pale, and his eyes were filled with boundless hatred. This time, Guang Yuan's expression really changed drastically. He said in a cold voice, "Your Highness, please consider this carefully. This person is a despicable human, while I am your citizen, the citizen of the four seas. You should be protecting me, not him. Do I need you to tell me who I want to protect?" Shui Xian said coldly. Guang Yuan and the others were all stunned. Why had Shui Xian, who was originally not good with words, suddenly become so sharp-tongued? Yunxiao could not help but laugh and praise, "That's right. That's more like a princess. However, this battle is not something a little girl like you can participate in. Retreat to the back." Yunxiao grabbed her hand and pulled her behind him. Shui Xian trembled. She had never been touched by a strange man before, so she panicked and was pulled to the back by Yunxiao's strength. Her cheeks couldn't help but blush, and her heart was beating fast. Fortunately, everyone's attention was on Guang Yuan, and she finally heaved a heavy sigh of relief. She was the princess of the four seas, a natural-born superior, and Yunxiao should have been sentenced to death for being so rude to her. However, she was not angry at all. Instead, an indescribable feeling welled up in her heart. She felt safe and warm behind that human. "Li Yunxiao, how dare you abduct the princesses of the four seas? Also, how dare you collude with the humans and betray the Ocean Emperor? You all deserve to die." Guang Yuan's expression turned cold, and he was the first to pin a big hat on everyone. He stretched out his hand and waved it down in front of him, and shouted sternly, "Kill them all." The three island owners on the stage flew up first and stood behind Guang Yuan. The Xiankong Island guards continued to appear in the surrounding space, directly surrounding everyone. "It's a one-way restrictive spell," Yunxiao said seriously. "You can enter from the outside, but you can't leave from the inside. Do you have the confidence to break the restrictive spell and escape?" Bai Mingkongtian asked in a deep voice. The fact that he asked this question proved that he had no confidence at all. The peak of the 8-star realm and the 9-star realm were two completely different levels. "No." Yunxiao shook his head and said with a wry smile, "Even if we can get out of this hall, we can't get out of Xiankong Island. It's really troublesome this time. If we don't handle it well, we'll all die here." Bai Mingkongtian frowned. He did not understand Yunxiao's meaning, so he snorted coldly and said, "Young Master Yunxiao will also fall into a desperate situation? That's not like you. I don't believe that the Xiankong Island sect can take all of us down. There are many experts here." Yunxiao smiled wryly. He could not explain to Bai Mingkongtian that the lotus throne above his head was a supreme-grade mystic artifact. If everyone knew that, their confidence would probably collapse on the spot. There was no time for them to think any further. The Xiankong Islands guards had all charged forward, each of them holding the same fork-shaped profound-level weapon with rings carved on it. The rings were embedded in each other, and they were not affected by the suction of the lotus. Bang! One of the Xiankong Island guards clashed with another Sea Tribe warrior. The latter's battle axe was broken in the air by the pitchfork, and he was killed on the spot by the pitchfork. This scene caused everyone to be both shocked and furious. When they thought about how their own profound armaments had become so vulnerable, they were all ignited with boundless anger. "Damn it. Everyone, attack." A marine race expert's expression turned cold, and a ball of purple lightning shot out of his eyes. Immediately, his entire body was enveloped in a strong electric current. With every step he took, his body grew a little taller. After 7 steps, he was already more than 8 zhang long. Purple lightning flowed all over his arms, and he punched at Guang Yuan. The lightning on his fists and arms rose to the sky, illuminating the entire hall. Bai Mingkongtian also shouted in a deep voice, "Do it." Just as he was about to rush down, he saw a figure flash past and appear in front of him. The figure smiled and said, "Peak 8-star expert, let me experience your power." Bai Mingkongtian's face turned cold and he said angrily, "Get lost." He kicked out in midair, and the entire space exploded with a series of bangs. Countless spatial cracks were created, and they slithered around like earthworms. Bin Chen's expression changed. His body leaned back slightly to the right. He clenched his right fist, turned his waist, and threw a punch with a roar. Boom. The wind from the fist hit the force of Bai Mingkongtian's kick, creating a huge gust of wind that shot in all directions. Some of the Sea tribe members in the surroundings dodged in horror. At this moment, several other marine race experts rushed out, joining forces with the expert who had used the purple thunder fist to attack Guang Yuan. Not bad, not bad. The stronger you guys are, the faster I will recover. Guang Yuan licked his lips, and a cold glint flashed in his eyes. His left hand directly formed an incantation gesture, and his thumb and index finger were gently put together as he smiled while holding a flower. A golden lotus immediately formed on his fingertip, and he raised it high above his head. The golden lotus symbolized holiness and wealth. A solemn and dignified aura came from within, and it sounded more like the sound of Sanskrit. Boom. The purple lightning fist landed on the golden lotus, and a powerful force of lightning burst out. It was like a lightning dragon rampaging through the area, blasting the entire place into a mess. The warriors with weaker cultivation accidentally touched it and exploded into powder on the spot, leaving no bones behind. Such a domineering punch could not shake the power of the golden lotus. What? The marine race expert was shocked. His eyes widened in disbelief. Boom. Boom. At this moment, the rest of the ultimate skills also arrived one after another, all falling on the golden lotus, but unable to break it at all. Yunxiao's eyes were filled with shock, and the sense of the divine realm tablet in his body was getting stronger and stronger. Guang Yuan's smile must have had a great relationship with the lotus throne. His eyes flickered, and just as he was about to make a move, a person suddenly stepped out of the air and appeared in front of him using spatial bending. The person said indifferently, "I'm your opponent." Yunxiao's pupils constricted as he said coldly, "Get lost. Now is not the time to have personal grudges with you." The man's face was calm. His eyes were closed and he sniffed the air. He seemed to feel very comfortable and his face showed a satisfied expression. He slowly opened his eyes and said, "I don't want to wait any longer. Today either you die or I die. I'll use your blood to wash away the shame of being the crown prince of North Sea." Shui Xian's expression changed and she shouted in anger, "Run Xiang, I order you not to mess around and immediately join forces to deal with the Xiankong Island." "I'm sorry, Princess Shui Xian, I can't do as you say," Run Xiang sneered. Killing intent flashed in Shui Xian's eyes as she said coldly, "Good, good. All of you have ignored the existence of the Ocean Emperor's palace. I will remember the Xiankong Island and the royal family of the North Sea." Only then did Run Xiang's expression change drastically, and he explained, "This is a personal grudge between me and Li Yunxiao, and it has nothing to do with the royal family of the North Sea. If you want to settle the score, it's on me. Who do you think you are? It's not up to you how you want to settle this," Shui Xian sneered. Run Xiang's chest was filled with anger as he pointed at Yunxiao and said, "Li Yunxiao, you're a hero among the people. Do you want to hide behind a woman and let her stand up for you? As the crown prince of North Sea, I challenge you to a life and death battle. Do you dare to accept it?" His bold words reverberated in the chaotic hall and attracted the attention of many people. The light in Yunxiao's eyes gradually turned cold as he stared at Run Xiang. Suddenly, the corners of his mouth lifted slightly. He smiled. "What are you laughing at?" Run Xiang's face darkened and he said angrily, "Could it be that you think I'm not qualified?" Yunxiao's eyes were unusually calm, and he said with a smile, "Since you have such courage, then I will fulfill your heart of martial arts and grant you a battle." A cold light flashed in his eyes as he said softly, "I'll grant you another death." In the endless passage of time, there were countless geniuses and experts who were on the path of martial arts. They were like the stars in the sky, shining from the past to the present. However, there were also countless geniuses who streaked across the sky like meteors, only able to shine for one era. Since ancient times, who could be the Big Dipper? My life has a limit, but the Tao has no limit. If I follow the limit with the limit, I will be in danger. Run Xiang's expression suddenly changed, but he quickly smiled. It was a smile that was so excited that it was difficult to control. Hey! Grant me death? This is exactly what I wanted to say to you. Xiang couldn't help but laugh out loud, and said, Who cares about the Xiankong Island or the Ocean Emperor's palace? I'll have a good fight today. The blood in his body burned in an instant. At this moment, he no longer had any thoughts, but only one belief in his heart to kill Yunxiao and prove his heart of martial arts. I admire a genius like you very much, Yunxiao said with a smile. I can see a lot of my own shadow in you. Among the 10 conferred martial sovereigns, which one of them did not have a strong Dao heart, which one of them was not paranoid, and which one of them was not a battle maniac? Stop looking at me with that condescending gaze. It's really annoying. Xiang laughed and raised his right hand. The Luoho war spear appeared in his hand and he struck down like a long whip. The battle spear turned into a dragon's spine in the air and struck down like a lightning bolt. Yunxiao sneered. He didn't care about Guangyuan or the Lotus Throne anymore. He was also looking forward to a battle at this moment. Xiang seemed to have changed from before. Although he could not tell what was going on, it had triggered Yunxiao's warlike blood. Whether it was in his previous life or this life, Gu Feiyang or Yunxiao at this moment, they had both reached the peak of martial arts step by step through countless challenges, and the peak was full of corpses. Do you dare to fight? What a joke. I'll stand on the road of martial Dao and grant you death. Yunxiao grinned. I'll kill you. The sword chi in his hand rose, and the ice sword emitted a loud sword cry. The cold light shone on the water as he stabbed at the dragon's spine. At this moment, the hall was extremely chaotic, but the fight between the two still attracted a lot of attention from all sides. The golden lotus in Guangyuan's hand transformed into a vast and mighty force that struck in all directions. Bang! 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 Several marine race experts were forced back by this force. Some of them even spat out blood and suffered internal injuries. After the first move, Guangyuan did not press on with his victory. Instead, he stood in the air with confidence and turned his eyes to the battlefield where Yunxiao and Xiang were fighting, his eyes filled with uncertainty. The young genius of the North Sea, can you live up to my expectations? A question arose in his heart, and the answer would soon be revealed. At this moment, the other 3 island lords had entered the chaotic battle. Fei Ming and Leng Yu were locked in a fierce battle, while Zhao Wenxian was up against the elite who had exchanged for the 9-colored sky conch. The other party was actually someone with extremely strong mental power. The 9-colored sky conch did not need to be refined in his hands. He directly used it. He put it to his mouth and blew. A sound wave gathered into a line, crushing Zhao Wenxian's spiritual attack and bombarding it. Meanwhile, Jiutian and the 3 water droplet tribe experts were engaged in a fierce battle, and it was difficult to determine who was superior in the short term. What made everyone's heart tremble was that the power of the profound level weapons in their hands was constantly flowing away, while the other party's profound level weapons were completely fine, and the more they fought, the more courageous they became. Baiming Kongtian also realized the seriousness of the matter and was unwilling to fight with his subjects for a long time. He immediately formed a seal with one hand, and a nebula appeared in his palm. What? Bin Chun laughed in surprise. Are you going to get serious? I don't have time to chat with you. I'll send you to hell directly. Baiming Kongtian snorted coldly. The nebula expanded from his palm, and the entire hall trembled. The space around them began to shatter. Everyone's hearts were filled with shock and horror at the mighty power of the stellar clouds. At the same time, they were overjoyed. Under such a vast and mighty power, it was very likely that the restrictions in the hall would be broken. Guangyuan's pupils also contracted slightly. At this moment, everything in the hall was trembling, except for the lotus seat on the ceiling, which was still floating there quietly, not moving at all. Bin Chen's expression also changed drastically. His hands quickly formed a seal, and a round mark appeared in front of him. He roared several times, and the muscles on his body directly bulged. Meridians appeared on the surface of his body, and his entire person actually grew twice as tall. With the appearance of his meridians, formations began to appear one after another. There were hundreds and thousands of them, dazzling everyone's eyes. Shock appeared in Guangyuan's eyes, and he muttered to himself, "Is this the sage wheel? It's indeed a powerful divine body." He stared at Bin Chen, his expression dark and uncertain. After breaking the seal in his body, Bin Chen's eyes turned cold and he said coldly, "Quafu chasing the sun." He clasped his hands together, and a divine body phenomenon appeared on his body. A blazing sun rose slowly, like a wheel. Baiming Kongtian's expression changed. He turned over his palm and slapped it in the air while he shouted, "My life has an end." The power of his palm gathered into a vortex and pressed down on the divine body phenomenon. The nebula had just risen, and the scorching sun was in the sky. Boom! The two strange forces collided, and the entire hall instantly lost its color, turning into a pale white. No one could see or hear, and all they could see was a white world. Boom, boom, boom. After a while, there was a loud rumble as if a battleship had passed by. The deafening sound lasted for a long time. Suddenly, a ray of golden light shone down. It was as if the dark clouds had been parted to reveal the blue sky. All the color of the vast sky dissipated under the white light. Everyone looked over in shock, only to see the magnificent Dharma lotus platform spinning on its own in the sky, sprinkling down rays of afterglow. Guangyuan's expression changed drastically as well, revealing a look of surprise. He was not the one who had instructed the lotus platform to move, but rather, it had done so on its own. His face sank. There were still too many wonderful aspects of this lotus platform that he had yet to control. When he thought about how his strength had returned to its peak and how he had regained control of the lotus throne, he couldn't help but feel excited. After the golden light of the lotus platform dispersed the white mist, everyone was overjoyed to find that the restriction had indeed been broken. The entire hall had turned into ashes and smoke from the confrontation, and not even a trace could be found. Suddenly, a vast and mighty force rose again, and Baiming Kongtian's cold voice came, "I'm not done yet." Another strange phenomenon appeared between heaven and earth. Baiming Kongtian's figure appeared in the sky. The blue veins on his forehead were bulging as he put his palms together in front of his body. An extremely strong cold air spread out from his hands, almost solidifying, turning into layers of thin ice in the air. A shadow appeared behind him and formed a beautiful pattern with the ice crystals in front of him. Ha! Baiming Kongtian let out a loud roar. He opened his palms and began to quickly make hand seals. Rays of golden light began to appear in the blue world of ice, forming a vast pattern. Killing intent flashed in his eyes as he said coldly, "Take this, 3 moves beyond the heavens swift like a swan." The huge pattern suddenly fell from the sky and crushed down on a part of the island. Everyone trembled under this pressure, but they were even more ecstatic, as if they had seen the hope of victory. Guangyuan's expression also changed drastically, revealing a look of shock. Under that vast pattern, even he could sense extreme danger, and he muttered to himself, "Are these the so-called experts of the 7 superpowers?" As expected, they are not inferior to the royal families of the 4 seas. A strong light suddenly burst out from the bottom of the giant pattern. The figure of Bin Chen appeared again, and the formation on his body was suddenly projected into the air, forming a complicated world of formations. Boom! Under the pressure of the strange phenomenon, the entire array world burst into golden light, rising into the sky and rushing into the giant pattern. The two forces were locked in a stalemate for a moment before the astonishing phenomenon finally won and crashed down. Boom, boom, boom. The ground exploded with dust, and huge cracks spread in all directions. The entire island was split open by this move. The island's earth vein was instantly pierced through, and a shocking strange power poured into the ground, constantly extending down. Everyone turned pale with fright, but they were also ecstatic. The entire island began to show signs of violent death. Boom! Suddenly, a huge tremor came from the bottom of the island. A surge of golden light shot up into the sky and dissipated all the destructive power. The golden light swirled in the air above the island and began to shine with the lotus seat. The Xiankong Island, which was on the verge of collapse, suddenly quieted down. The cracks that were constantly spreading also stopped, and the power of the aftermath of Baimingkongtian's attack had completely disappeared. This? Everyone was dumbfounded as they looked in shock at the continuously spinning lotus seed in the sky. What was going on with this profound level weapon? How could there be such a heaven-defying item in this world? Shui Xian was also completely stunned. She stared at the lotus platform in the sky in a daze. The expression on her face began to turn into one of shock, as if she had recalled something.